Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really powerful story called The Grace of the Extra Second. We live in a world that is just constantly moving, right? Constantly rushing, always demanding our immediate attention. But today, we're going to look at how intentionally slowing down can literally change everything. Okay, let's get into it.
So let's start with a super simple question. What can actually happen in a single second? If you ask most people, they'd probably tell you, well, almost nothing. It's barely enough time to blink or take a quick breath. We kind of treat seconds like they're totally disposable, just these insignificant fractions of our day. But this story, it challenges that exact assumption. Because sometimes one extra second is the precise, razor-thin boundary between two completely opposite outcomes. On one side, you've got deep, agonizing regret. And on the other, profound and lasting gratitude. A single tick of the clock is quite literally all that separates the two. To really understand how, we need to look at the story of a man named Thomas. Part 1. The Unusual Habit.
So take Thomas. He was a city bus driver, and even though he cheerfully greeted passengers on Route 18 every single weekday morning, everybody noticed he had this one highly unusual habit. Before leaving every single stop, he religiously followed a 3-step routine. He'd pause, look carefully into his rearview mirror, and then deliberately wait one extra second. Now, in a rushing city, this drove some people absolutely crazy. Impatient passengers would yell out, "Come on," or "Hey, we're late." But Thomas, he simply smiled and kept driving. He never ever skipped that final glance. Part 2. The Lesson from His Father. Now, this habit didn't just come out of nowhere. It was a deeply ingrained piece of wisdom passed down through his family. Before Thomas took the wheel for the very first time, his dad, who was also a driver, gave him a strict instruction and a really memorable explanation. He said, "Because people make mistakes, a good driver leaves room for them." It's such a brilliant philosophy, isn't it? It completely acknowledges human fallibility. And Thomas absorbed this deeply, carrying those exact words with him as a guiding principle throughout his entire career. Part 3. The Winter Morning. Fast forward to a bitterly cold, icy morning with just terrible visibility. Thomas followed his routine. Passengers had hurried onto the bus to escape the freezing cold, and he prepared to pull away from the curb. Pausing and looking into his rearview mirror one final time, he noticed something through the swirling snow. Lying right there on the icy road was a little red backpack. And darting out from the sidewalk, running straight back toward the road to grab it, was a small child. Without even thinking, Thomas kept his foot firmly on the brake, keeping that bus entirely still. And in that exact fraction of a second, another vehicle suddenly blew past the bus, speeding right through the intersection. The small child grabbed the little red bag, having been completely shielded by the stationary bus, and narrowly missing what would have been a devastating impact with that passing car. If Thomas had driven away immediately, like those impatient passengers always wanted, the situation would have been catastrophic. The bus pulling out would have left that child totally exposed to the speeding car. Realizing just how incredibly close they came to a tragedy, the entire bus felt completely silent. And you know what? From that winter morning onward, no passenger ever complained about Thomas's extra second again. Part 4. A Lasting Ripple Effect. So Thomas's quiet action began to inspire others. Months later, a new driver named Olivia, who really admired his calm attitude in traffic, asked Thomas how he stayed so patient every single day. Thomas smiled and told her, "Because rushing steals attention, and attention protects people." The logic there was just so clear and undeniable that she instantly adopted his habit right then and there. She began looking once, and then always looking again. But that ripple effect didn't stop there. Years later, Thomas received a mysterious piece of mail. It was an envelope with absolutely no return address. Inside was a handwritten note from someone he hadn't seen in decades. It was actually from the child with the little red backpack, who had survived that icy morning and had since grown up to become a school teacher. The letter read, "You don't remember me. I was the little child with the red backpack. Every morning before my students leave the classroom, I always look back one last time to make sure no one is left behind." And they ended the letter with this really beautiful sentiment. "Thank you for teaching me that caring is found in small habits." Thomas quietly folded that letter up and kept it in his wallet. What a testament to his generational impact, right? Part 5. Retirement and Legacy. After an incredible 32 years of service, Thomas finally parked his bus for the last time. He turned off the heavy engine and looked in his rearview mirror one last time,
Not checking for passengers, but really reflecting on thousands of journeys and countless small moments of care. As he stepped off, he found his coworkers gathered outside to honor his decades of service. They presented him with a beautiful, polished rearview mirror, and it was heavily engraved with this exact phrase: "The greatest drivers always looked back." It was the perfect encapsulation of a career defined not by speed, but by profound, attentive care. Looking back at this timeline, we can really see the true scale of the story. A single piece of fatherly advice transitioned into a life-saving moment, which was then passed to a colleague and eventually mirrored in a classroom. Finally, the bus company even introduced a new training program based entirely on Thomas's routine. They made pause, look again, never assume a permanent cornerstone of their corporate culture. Part 6, the power of 1 second. Look, life moves incredibly fast, and we're just constantly chasing the next destination, the next deadline, the next big metric of success. But true, life-altering wisdom is found in the simple act of slowing down. Great people aren't remembered because they were the fastest or the most efficient. They're remembered because slowing down allows us to notice someone struggling. It creates the space to offer help. It gives us the margin to prevent a mistake, just like Thomas's dad said. And ultimately, it provides the opportunity to show genuine kindness. And this leaves us with an incredibly powerful, actionable rule of 3 that we can all apply in our own daily routines. It's not just about driving a bus. It's about navigating life itself. Step 1, look again. Step 2, listen again. Step 3, care again. It is just a brilliant framework for making sure that in our rush to get ahead, we aren't leaving our humanity behind. As the original story from Gravonix Stories wraps up, it actually challenges its readers to physically commit to building their own legacy. They ask you to subscribe for more motivational content and to comment this specific phrase: "I will look twice." We're going to wrap up our explainer today by leaving you with this final provocative thought. Someone else's tomorrow may depend on the extra second you choose to give today. Man, that's a heavy, beautiful responsibility. So as you head back into your fast-paced world, what will you do with yours? Thank you so much for learning with us today, and remember, always leave a little room for that extra second.